All right, all right, all right. Y'all, welcome to this episode of Self-Discovery. I took a walk this morning, so I'm in my comfy clothes. I feel like I was able to clear my head before sitting down and speaking with you guys. And I'm excited because today I'm going to talk to you about, well, I'm calling this the multicolored dress, revelations on shame and the shadow self. And I think that this is a really important topic to talk about. One kind of like a more difficult topic to talk about for sure, because nobody really wants to talk about shame. But if we don't address the elephant in the room, the elephant is never going to go away. So with that being said, I want to dive in, grab a cup of tea, and let's learn. Let's learn about ourselves and learn about each other. Before we get into shame and the shadow self, I want to do kind of a deep dive on what the shadow self is. The Swiss psychologist Carl Jung first coined the term shadow self, and about it he said this: "The shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality. For no one can become conscious of the shadow without considerable moral effort." So you have to have some kind of self-awareness to be able to understand that you have a shadow. To become conscious of it involves recognizing the dark aspects of the personality as present and real. This act is the essential condition for any kind of self-knowledge. And really, a lot of that is foundational for self-discovery. Diving even deeper, according to highexistence.com, the shadow is a concept that describes those aspects of the personality that we choose to reject and repress. For one reason or another, we all have parts of ourselves that we don't like or that we think society won't like. So we push those parts down into our unconscious psyches. It is this collection of repressed aspects of our identity that Jung referred to as our shadow. According to Jung's theory, we distance ourselves psychologically from those behaviors, emotions, and thoughts that we find dangerous. Rather than confront something that we don't like, our mind pretends it does not exist. Aggressive impulses, taboo mental images, shameful experiences, immoral urges, fears, irrational wishes, unacceptable sexual desires — these are a few examples of shadow aspects, things people contain but do not admit to themselves that they contain. So, what might be some of the aspects of the shadow self in action? And I think we can all do a little imaginative work here and figure out how we might act out our shadow selves. But to make things a little easier, I wanted to reference a couple more things in this article from highexistence.com, which I will link the article in the show notes. But the thing that they said, there are like 7 of these things. And starting with number 1, it says, the shadow self could be a tendency to harshly judge others, especially if that judgment comes on an impulse. Number 2, pointing out one's own insecurities as flaws in another. Number 3, a quick temper with people in subordinate positions of power. Oof. Number 4, frequently playing the victim of every situation. Number 5, a willingness to step on others to achieve one's own ends. Number 6, unacknowledged biases and prejudices. Number 7, a messiah complex. And then here is what I said about the shadow self. It can also just be being a straight up asshole. And I, like everybody else, have asshole thoughts all the time. And they're these thoughts that let's say you're talking to somebody and you're like, I really wish I could get out of, you don't say this out loud, but in your head you're thinking, I wish I could get out of this conversation right now because I'm so bored and I don't care what you're talking about. Or, oh my gosh, this person's breath is so bad and I wish that this horrible dragon breath wasn't being breathed in my face and oh my gosh, I just want to run away. Or, hey, those pants were not a good choice. These are all like really mean, shadowy thoughts that we would never say out loud, but are still part of our psyches and part of, being human. And wouldn't it be awesome if we could just rip out our shadow selves from the human experience? But Alexander Solzhenitsyn says, if only it were so simple. If only there were evil people somewhere insidiously committing evil deeds, and it were necessary only to separate them from the rest of us and destroy them. But this is the important part. But the line dividing good and evil cuts through the heart of every human being. And who is willing to destroy a piece of his own heart? And here's the deal. We live in a shame-based culture. Shame is one of the greatest tools for control. It keeps us small. It keeps us quiet. And sometimes it keeps us invisible. And when you combine shame and our shadow selves that we've been taught not to talk about or address or even think about, you create a human that is half in hiding. But this is one of the greatest lies of our lives, my friends. We aren't meant to be in hiding. Our freedom is found in our own shadow. So I had a really interesting meditation recently. I'm taking a course right now and going through all of these shame-filled moments in my life in order to bring them into the light so I can fully integrate my outward authentic self with my inward shadowy self. And it's really difficult reliving these moments that, I don't even want to tell my mom or my best friend or my husband, and bringing them up to the surface and going over all of the details is emotionally taxing. And after I did this meditation and went through all of these really shameful experiences, I started journaling them to further just get them out of my head and acknowledge their existence. And as I was journaling, I said to God, these shame-filled moments are like big red stains on my white dress. And softly, gently, I felt God reply, your dress isn't white, it's multicolored. And this was such a huge aha moment for me. And I felt God continue to speak, and I felt God continue to say, your dress is multicolored like everyone else's. You don't come to earth to be perfect. You come to earth to experience life. And with that is the human experience, which is quite messy. And here's the deal. Your mistakes are an opportunity to learn. The people you've hurt along the way, it's their opportunity to learn too. All of this comes full circle in my grand plan. So stop beating yourself up for every single thing you think you've done wrong. You aren't supposed to know how to do everything right away. That's why you don't enter this world with a handbook. This was such a profound moment and realization for me, because forgiving others is hard, but forgiving myself is far, far, far harder. But can you imagine a world in which we had forgiven ourselves and forgiven others? I feel like it would look so markedly different. And I feel like you and I would be different people altogether if we weren't carrying that weight of shame. So how do we do this? How do we free our shadow selves in order to fully forgive ourselves and others? I think we integrate them. We befriend them. We say, hey, asshole, I love you. Or on the kinder side, hey, I get that you're scared. I get that you want to act out right now, but let's take a deep breath and not do something we will regret and play over on our heads for the next 20 years. We figure out where they like to drink their coffee in the morning. We greet them there. We hug. We become one big happy family that says, hey, I'm here and I'm dysfunctional at times, but I'm trying. What we don't do is pretend that the shadow doesn't exist. What we don't do is stuff it down and try to put it in a chain-linked, locked box. What we don't do is say we are great when we are, in fact, far from it. Our shadows aren't shameful. We've just been taught that they're shameful because people don't know how to address them and bring them into the light. Our shadows are intricate parts of the human experience, but until we learn to live with the shadowy side in each of us, we will not fully be able to see the brilliance of our light either. Dichotomy is an incredible thing. Light wouldn't be light without darkness to compare it to. And love wouldn't be love if we didn't know fear. Joy wouldn't feel so good if we didn't know sorrow. And our higher self wouldn't be so visible if it wasn't standing in front of a shadow. We aren't wearing white dresses, my friends. We are wearing multicolored frocks. We aren't meant to be perfect. We are meant to be whole. So let's celebrate our shadows so we can celebrate the hell out of our integrated, healthy, whole, shiny, higher selves. You have been listening to Self-Discovery with Jaclyn Steele. If you want to know more information, please visit jaclynsteele.com/selfdiscoverypod. To find me on Instagram, type in @Jaclyn Steele, JaclynSteele. Please strike up a conversation with me there. I love getting to know all of you. If you want to strike up an even more intimate conversation, then please join my email list. There's a link for it in my bio on Instagram. It's also a pop-up on my website, jaclynsteele.com. It also comes with a freebie ebook about overcoming emotional trauma and my very personal story. And if you want to find me on YouTube, if you prefer watching podcasts or watching high vibe videos about beauty and things that I'm learning and things about life that I feel like are really important to share, then find me on YouTube. If you type in Jaclyn Steele, I should come up, but the YouTube handle is youtube.com/official Jaclyn Steele. Life gets easier when we know who we are. And that is why I am sharing all that I'm sharing in this self-discovery podcast, because life is hard enough as it is. But when we do the deep dive, when we do the work of understanding who we are and then being brave enough to act that out untethered, I think a lot of magic occurs. So go be big today. I wish you light and love and peace. And until next time, thank you for listening.